Habit number 2. This is kind of eerie. This habit is called begin with the end in mind. And the chapter begins by saying, imagine your own funeral. How somber is that? Okay? Every person in the room, imagine your own funeral. There you are, lying in your casket, Stephen Covey says. Now imagine what people are saying about you now that you're dead. Right? What are people saying about you and your life? That's the end. The end of your life? Okay. Now let's begin with the end in mind. Meaning, okay, now that I've imagined what my funeral is like, and I heard some of the things that I imagine people saying, okay, let me imagine that I want to hear something different when I really die. Okay, what do I have to do today so that one day when I do die, people are saying what I would prefer them to be saying? Follow me? Begin with the end in mind. He says, what do you want people to say at your funeral? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want them to say you accomplished? What difference did you make in life? Your answers to those questions should shape how you're living today and tomorrow and the next day.
Some people will say what they seen in you or about how they know you. Because there's other ones that see you different and know you're different.
Different people see you in different ways, yeah.
Right. Because the best of that is to write a obituary, have somebody that knows you or your family to write one. You want the right things to be said about you.
So this is a good point. So Deacon John is suggesting that different people have different perspectives on us too. They see us in different ways. Some people are going to look at us as really nice people. What about that person who looks at you and says, well, that SOB?
How can they say something?
This is the question. Do you want that person? Do you want that person to remember you and say one day, that SOB, I'm glad he or she is gone?
Won't be attending the funeral.
Or is there something that you might say or do today that might help to change that person's perspective? Andy?
I would want them to say, that SOB moved. He's still alive.
Which is a human desire for us. There's something, our next course is on death and dying. There's just something really real about this, right? None of us wants to imagine us pushing up daisies, right? But Stephen Covey says, imagine that for a moment, because that day will come for each of us. Mario?
Well, in most funerals, people are going to say nice things, you know.
Okay.
But
Yeah, they usually will in public, but
I met a man that told another one, I want you to die because that's the only time somebody's going to say something nice about you. And then it was a brother-in-law, they didn't like each other.
Yeah.
Only the day you die is somebody going to say nice things. And that's what's sad about this world, is that.
which is probably why Stephen Covey begins with this exercise in this chapter, because, okay, think about it, because if someone says, you are such a nasty, mean person, the only time anyone is ever going to say something good about you is after you're gone. Maybe that should change what we say and do. Deacon John?
Well, you know that this, I knew this person that said, he was already his last, he said, I want you at my funeral to say the truth about me.
Ouch.
Whoa. Wow.
You say the truth about me. Don't lie and tell people how I wasn't. Tell them how I was. Well, you know, I mean, how you get up there, you tell the family, then the family is not going to be for it, but that's what the man is.
You probably want to be careful saying that. I mean, there's something about honesty, sincerity, but at the same time, there's just something nice when a person passes to remember the good about that person, rather than to get up and use that as a cathartic, therapeutic exercise for yourself. Maria Isabel, and then you'll say.
The sad thing about us as humans, as we are, is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to put this off till tomorrow, and I'll start on it tomorrow. So if we're trying to change ourselves, we always say, no, I have tomorrow. And then it's like, I'm not going to do it today, I'll just do it tomorrow. Or then if not, in some cases, we wait till Lent season. And then we decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. the reality is that we shouldn't be like that, wait until Lynn season or wait until Adam season. It should be practiced every day, like if you're gonna die that
There you
next
go.
day, you don't know when you're gonna die. So why wait until the next day?
There you go, going back to my example of losing 3 pounds, right? I'm gonna start that tomorrow. Wait a minute, right? For me, it's just easier to start at the beginning of the month, so I'll start it in March. What are we going to do today for us to become the persons that we want to be? Go next.
Oh, yo no me les voy a contar una anécdota de eso que dice que cómo
Just
quiere
share an
ser
anecdote.
recordado. Cuando yo iba a la secundaria teníamos un maestro que cuando entraba uno, el primer día decía, yo soy bien malo, yo no soy buena gente con ustedes, tienen que trabajar. Y nada de decir como cuando se muere uno que dicen, ay, ya se murió fulano de tal. Y tan buena gente que era. Eso es mentira. Terminamos la secundaria y él falleció en un accidente. Entonces nos juntamos todos, ¿verdad? A su sepelio, a su velorio. Y lo primero que él dijo era lo que estaba diciendo la gente. Ah, ya se murió. Y tan buena gente que era. Yo me acordaba de eso de cuando
The mean teacher who died, and he said, you know, when people die, they're not going to say good things about you, they're going to speak the truth. And what happens? He dies, and they start lying, oh, he was such a good teacher. What do you want people to say? And maybe we shouldn't say at your funeral, because then we tend to talk a little nicer about them. But how do you want people to remember you? Do you want them to remember you as the SOB that you were to that person in that situation? Or is there something that I need to do today to help prepare that relationship? You can tell?
But you know, Father, like that person I'm talking about, and it said that he wanted them to say what he really was and all that. But the people, they got up and said things about him. You know, I mean, he did this wrong to me, he did this wrong, not that. But even though he did all these things, we still love that person. There was a lot of love for that person either. You know, so they kind of fixed things up at them with their folks, and they all knew what the people were talking because they knew it was true.
There you go. Stephen Covey then says, okay, once you imagine your own funeral, then it might be time for you to create your own mission statement. What is the type of person you're going to be? What words are going to describe your life from this day on? First time that I read Stephen Covey's book was in 1996, while riding a bus in Seattle, Washington. And I remember on the bus creating my own personal mission statement, and I still live it to this day. The 5 words that I want to be remembered by when I die is that he was loving, empowering, positive, prophetic, and free. Those are the 5 words I came up with in 97 and those 96, and those are the same 5 words that I continue to live today. Why do I do a theological institute? It's part of helping to empower others. Follow me? Think about your own mission statement. Go home tonight. Pray this week, next week. What words do you want to be used to describe you? And then how are those words going to guide your life? How are those words going to be like a North Star guiding your life toward those virtues? Stephen Covey says, what principles will be at the center of your life? He says, okay, if you're going to live your life in a certain way, what do you want to be the center or the North Star, if you will, of your life? That thing that always is the center of your life. Do you want that to be, for instance, money? Money is the center of my life and what's most important to me? Do you want family to be the thing that's most important to you? Your spouse? Your church? Yourself? Your friends? Pleasure? Possessions? Your work? What for you is most important and what are you focused most on? Because he says, in the end, rather than being any one of those things, even your spouse or your children, don't tell them I said that, but even more than that, you should focus on principles. Right? What are you going to focus on so that in whatever situation, you're going to be centered on principles rather than on other things like money or pleasures or work or persons.